Welcome to April's edition of Northern BC News for real estate investors. I'm going to start off with some news this month that's great for all real estate investors, and it is low interest rates for our mortgages. BMO publicly announced that they're cutting their interest rates to 2.99%, and many banks have followed suit. What's especially encouraging this month is that Bank of Canada Governor Stephen Poloz announced Canadians can expect to enjoy relatively cheap borrowing costs for some time to come, perhaps years, even after the economy returns to full capacity and the Bank of Canada starts hiking interest rates. So it's not just good news here for the short term, but good news for the long term that we can take some comfort knowing that there isn't going to be massive hikes in the cards for the Bank of Canada. Also in the news this month is that AltaGas and Idemitsu Japan have received a 25-year export permit for their LNG plant. This marks the 8th LNG plant to receive an export permit from the government. Great news that one more plant has yet reached another milestone. British Gas Group has also signed a new joint venture partner in CNOOC, the Chinese state-owned oil company, to build their massive gas plant near Prince Rupert. The reason this is important to you is because when you're an LNG plant and you're needing to spend about $16 billion to build it, it's a lot of money for one company to spend on their own. So if they're able to get a joint venture partner and to share these massive upfront capital costs, the likelihood of them moving forward goes up because it's more of an manageable amount of money that they're having to spend. So again, wonderful news from BG that they've partnered up with CNOOC. Another interesting tidbit this month is that the government seems to have plans to speed up their plans for announcing the regulatory framework for their LNG tax. They talked about their general outline for the tax earlier in the year and said that they would give us more specifics in the fall session. And recently, one of the deputy natural gas ministers has stated that, Stephen Carr stated that the final decision is set for the fall legislature, but you can expect it earlier. This is great news because the big oil and gas companies require this information to be able to make final investment decisions moving forward. So this is one more piece of information that as soon as those companies have, they're much closer to making that final investment decision. So this pressure that's being put on the government to release this tax structure is a wonderful thing and is creating more momentum in the industry. There have also been a couple of pieces of news regarding First Nations involvement in oil and gas this month. The first is that a few First Nations groups have officially rejected the Northern Gateway pipeline. You may have seen this article. What I would like to clarify for everyone is that this is very different from the natural gas pipelines. The natural gas pipelines typically aren't nearly as controversial as the oil pipelines. In fact, in the second piece of news this month is that two First Nations groups have signed revenue sharing agreements with the government for the LNG plant, for an LNG plant that is going to be going just north of Prince Rupert. So this shows tremendous cooperation between the government and the First Nations groups. And last but not least, some big news from Encana this month. Last month, I talked to you a little bit about Encana's plans to sell off some of their U.S. assets for about $2 billion. This month, it happened. Not quite for the $2 billion. They sold their Jonah asset in Wyoming for a total of about $1.8 billion. So this is a big amount of money that's freed up for them that they can go focus on their core assets, including those in and around Dawson Creek. And they didn't just stop there either. They've also sold off the majority of their U.S. oil and gas assets to a company called Stabilis Energy for an undisclosed price, and this deal is expected to complete on April 30th of this month. They've also sold their their share in a joint venture in Alberta with an LNG plant. So again, this is they haven't disclosed how much money they've received from this, but from all these deals, they've freed up a lot of money so that they can focus on using that money on their core oil and gas plays. And as I'd mentioned last time, they have a lot of oil and gas, which is one of their core plays right around Dawson Creek. So again, this is fantastic news for investors in and around the Dawson Creek area, as Encana has already begun moving in more people into this area to do their oil and gas drilling right around Dawson Creek. Thanks for checking out April's Northern BC News for real estate investors. Be sure to check out this month's feature property, our suited single-family homes in Dawson Creek. They cash flow quite nicely. If you'd like to check those out, click on the link. There's a video link that's on the screen. Also, we will be having an official launch event for this product on May the 10th at 10 a.m. So if you want any more details or information, my contact information is in the description for the video. Also, there's a little link where you can register for that event, the launch event for the single family homes if you'd like. Thanks again, and I look forward to talking to you next month.